why I've been having a hard time with accepting the fact that I'm an only child, even though I've been an only child since the day I was born. If you're an only child, you will understand the psychosis and the amount of evolutions, the amount of, indiscrepancies that you internalize mentally. But if you're not, you won't understand that. But what I'm coming to realize is that being an only child is all about you accepting self realization into your life and embodying that as your mastery, your project, your lifelong project, your purpose. I think for a while I've focused on my life purpose, which is my, caring, nurturing side, but I don't necessarily focus on caring and nurturing for myself in the way that I need as an only child. I found myself trying to be caring and nurturing to people that have big communities and have sisters and have brothers, and they have it all, in the sense of like having the physical presence in their life. And I think for me, I have a very heavy spiritual presence in my life that I've tried to ignore. And that's going to be your downfall as an only child. You have to embrace the parts of you that are internal, that intuition, that awareness of self, that comfortability within your presence, your solitude. Like, these are the things that really helps you to move forward in your journey. Today I'm drinking on some peppermint tea. I am currently in Brooklyn, New York, still awaiting to move into my apartment with my now fiance. Life throws a lot of twists and turns at you, and you really have to learn how to adjust and to stay calm in the midst of, because it could be worse. And I never really embraced that thought that things could be worse, because I'm like, I don't care what people are going through, I'm going through it. And it's like, no, bitch, it could be worse. So today I just want to talk a little bit about the importance of self-mastery, because, I'm a writer. I recently wrote a blog post about being an only child, and I went on a deep dive to look into how many only childs there are in the world. First of all, it is not common within my community because, as you can see, okay, it is also just not common in general. But I think when I was younger, I used to really like despise my parents, because I'm like, why didn't y'all have more kids? And why didn't y'all bring more kids around me? But, now that I'm stepping into my 30s as of this year, which is kind of crazy to think about, I'm starting to be a little bit more grateful for the experiences that has been bestowed upon me. Like, I didn't have a choice, but this is where I'm at, and I don't want to live in a space where I'm constantly a victim. And that's also part of self-realization, is no longer being a victim to your story, and really just embracing the things that once made you feel less than, understanding that these are your destiny and they're things that you have to learn how to navigate. Like, being an only child is very challenging, because, you go from being an only child to being an adult, and you really have to define your purpose and who you want to be, by yourself. Like, you don't have a blueprint, you don't have someone, you don't have anyone to look up to. You can choose people to look up to, but I think being an only child also, but I think being an only child also forces you to learn how to trust. I've went through a lot of different series of, relationships with friends or family or men, where like I was really challenged in my trust department, and really understanding that I could either stay or I could leave. Like, and I think me learning how to leave really helped me to be comfortable with myself and understand that people are here to teach me something, and I have to learn how to stand up on my own regardless. Whether they're here or not, I have to learn how to stand up on my own. And for the people that are in my life and the people that have poured into me in a way that is needed versus what's convenient for them, I thank you, because I think the convenience is comfortable. Having someone that has really spent a lot of time with themselves, it can manifest in two ways. It can either become, you being the person that is the victim in every situation. Like, those people are very insufferable, and they're very hard to be around. Those are the people that people actually make fun of when they talk about only children. Like, oh, she's an only child, that's why she acts like that. Like, or, oh, you're only child, I could tell. I never gotten that one though. I think when people say that they can tell, it comes from a place of like, oh, you're really needy. And I've always prided myself in being the person that's not needy. I've always wanted to be like really hyper independent, which is why I became an entrepreneur, because like I like to have my own shit. Like, it's important for me to have my own domain, create my own world, create my own ideals, because reality is gonna slap you, okay? But I think you just creating your own dream world is very important, and understanding that you're in charge of how things go, so my cat is eating, so if you hear crunching in the background, that's him. 2 seconds, I'm actually looking for something. When you're able to create your own shit, create your own life, create your own interests, create your own hobbies, okay, just do your own thing. I think being an only child would be less visible. Okay, like you don't want to make being an only child like a sickness. Like I feel like kind of like being a cancer. Like I'm a cancer, right? And cancer is associated with the disease. And I think it's important to understand that there is a stigma against certain things. So it's your job to work against that. Not to prove anything, more so to really just embrace it and to really like embody it and to take pride in it. Because I think sometimes, like for me, being a cancer, for example, a lot of people would say cancers are emotional. Yes, we are. And I think I've kind of strayed away from it because it was always used against me. But I think now being emotional has helped me to attract a loving partner. I am a wife to be now. Being a cancer allowed me to differentiate who's truly my friend and who loves my company. Yeah, emotions. Being a cancer also allows me to be in tune with things that are important to me, and being able to honor my emotions, and being able to understand when I'm uncomfortable, and being comfortable with saying, yeah, it's time for me to leave. I don't feel comfortable anymore. Like, being able to be in tune with your emotions does not mean that something is wrong with you. That means that you know when it's time to go, and you know when it's time to indulge. But you also know when it's time to speak up, and you also know when it's time to shut up. And I feel like when I was younger, like I would hear, you're too emotional, like, yeah. And those same people, they don't have the things that I have because they cannot attract those things because they're not tapped in. When you're tapped in, you could tap in. So I think that's the most important thing about like just taking the things that were once, insecurity for you and making it something that makes you unique. It's your strength. Being able to transmute something that once made you feel less than and made you feel isolated, because that's how I felt. I always felt disconnected from the friend group conversation. I never really felt comfortable amongst friend groups. When I'll call things out, like I don't really like the group setting. Like I'm always looked at as the villain. I don't care for it. I don't think that it does anything for my spirit. I don't think that my personality shines. I don't think that I can truly be myself. And I think it's important to understand what spaces are for you and not feeling the need to fit in. Okay, let's take these off. I could spend hours alone in silence, just really enjoying my presence and understanding my strengths and weaknesses and the things that I want to work on, and being able to meditate and not feeling obligated to do things that I don't want to do. I recently seen a tweet that says the cost of community is doing things that you don't want to do and spending time even though you want to be alone. And I agree. I think everything has to be done in moderation. I think that when you are constantly submitting to spaces that aren't fair to you or in balance or in alignment with who you are, just to say that you have community, I think that's abusive. And call me dramatic, I don't care. I just feel like if I'm having to force myself into doing something that isn't conducive to my mental health, into my resting period, because rest is very important, yeah, I don't call that something that I value. That's not something that I want to prioritize. And I respect people that also don't want that. I respect people that don't want to force themselves into spaces that isn't cohesive to the life that they want to live. Like for me, I transitioned from being the girl that loves being on the phone for hours. I used to spend hours on the phone. And when I stopped talking on the phone as much, I realized that my phone calls were therapy sessions. And there were more so therapy sessions for other people rather than myself. Like, I realized I'd even have the space. People never even given me the space to really heal through the conversations. Not everybody, because I know people like to take things wrong with it, but not everybody is my safe space. I might have friends, but not everybody is my safe space. And I think it's important to differentiate what is a safe space, but I also don't think that everyone needs to be a safe space. Like, I think being an only child is also recognizing, like, some people have their strengths and their weaknesses are that, and I'm just going to focus on your strengths, but I'm not going to make you stronger, because I feel like I spent time trying to make people stronger, make people more self-aware. I drove myself crazy thinking that I had that strength. I am not God. So spending time alone, but not making it like a, oh, like nobody likes me kind of situation, it really makes you more magnetic as well. Because I find that a lot of people, like, the more that I've gotten comfortable with spending time alone and spending time in spaces that I love, like, I love going to the park, I love sitting down and looking at the water, I love people watching, I love going to cafes, I love going to museums. Like, when people see me live my life, they're like, oh my God, we have to hang out. And I'm like, I don't even know you, but let's do it, because what can happen, okay? Like, but I also don't idealize the relationship further than let's hang out. You know what I'm saying? I think in the past I used to be like, oh my God, like, you were supposed to be this person for me, and detachment is really key in being an only child. Just learning that an experience is an experience, and you should focus on the experience, and if it expands further, it expands further. But you don't have to make it like, oh my God, like, one true love. And this goes for men and women, because sometimes we do what we do for friends in the same way we do for partners, and it's like, don't attach yourself to nobody like that. You were brought here alone for a reason. Your job is to learn how to be comfortable by yourself, and when people come along, it's like an added excitement, it's an added joy, but it's not your source of joy. Does that make sense? So I just think it's important to understand those aspects of being an only child, because if not, you're gonna crash out and you're gonna feel like, the world's against you. And nobody wants to be around nobody like that. I'm gonna be honest. Like, nobody wants to be around someone that every time you talk to them, it's a woe is me conversation. At least be funny. I'm just saying, being an only child has really taught me to utilize my humor, because if not, I will be a sob story. I promise you. If you sat down and listened to me talk, there'll be a lot of laughs, but there'll be a lot of damns. So yeah, I'm just gonna pull this back a little bit so I can finish my skincare routine. But yeah, I've met one only child in my life. Shit. But I haven't met a lot of only children in my life. I've probably only met two, to be honest. And I've met a lot of people. And I think one of the reasons why is because a lot of people just end up having more kids. And yeah, it's very challenging to come across people like that. And when you do come across people like that, you will see some personality traits that are very challenging to navigate. And a lot of the things that you may see manifest within them or within yourself if you're an only child is, a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of victim blaming, and, victim mentality, and a lot of insecurities, and, a lot of comparison. I think for a long time I've compared myself to a lot of people because I've always wanted family. And I feel like when I meet people, I'll be like, oh, they have family. And it's like, were they supposed to drop them? Like, girl. But I think it's just more so like, I expected people to embrace me within their family. And I'm like, that's why I have a partner. And that's the reason why God provided me with someone in my life romantically, so that way they can embrace me. And they have embraced me with their family, and their family has embraced me back. It's beautiful. But I think for a long time I expected that from my friends. I've met one friend like that. I'm thankful for her. I'm happy that I experienced her, but we are no longer friends. Things change, we evolve, and I don't hold it against her. And I hope she doesn't hold it against me. But I think that's growth. I think that's understanding purpose. I think that's understanding experiencing something but not controlling it and feeling like you have to, possess it, because that's toxic. So I recently also joined a Reddit thread for only children. I'll link it down below if you are only child or if you're dating one. Yeah, we definitely need support groups to understand, how to navigate this very unique experience. But I think the most important thing is understanding that you are here alone for a reason. You're not alone. No, you are here alone. You're not lonely. You are here alone, you're not lonely. It is your job to navigate relationships, understand that people have lives, understand that people are here to teach you things. If they're not, okay, understand that you're not here to possess anyone. Understand that you have the strength to become who you want to be, visually, visually, internally, emotionally, like spiritually, like it is your job to become that. So that way you radiate a level of confidence where it's like, oh my God, you're only child, I couldn't tell. That's the goal for me because I don't want to be associated with something weak. So I try my best to really just do the work and to, you know, seek out the information so that way I can become more confident in the world. And that's really the goal, is to become confident in the world, whether you have siblings or not, is to really understand that your job is to gain confidence in everything that you do. So if you haven't already, check out my blog post all about only children. It'll be linked down below. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Nobody can take it from you if you embrace it. Nobody could ever discredit or make you feel bad for something when you embrace it and you make it look good. Okay, bye.